Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at yet another wonderful mod, this time in the form of OPT Spaceplane, which is being made by forum user K-Yeon, and, well, this is another one of those mods that I've been meaning to look at for ages now, but just something else new would come out that interested me ever so slightly more, so I kept putting it on the back burner, but this past week, not a whole lot of things have been coming out, honestly, so I figured, what the hell, let's clear some of my backlog and have a look at this. And, well, what it brings into the game is a lovely selection of parts for you to make space planes. It's in the name, so pretty self-explanatory, but these spaceplane parts, if we jump into the spaceplane hangar, are quite unique. They don't fit the pretty typical sort of spaceplane designs we have in the game, but they're still quite stock alike, and I really love the look and feel of them. Now, you can already see some of them right here. We have 7 glorious new cockpits for you to choose from, but we're actually going to go into the manufacturers tab, because thankfully, this mod does take advantage of the manufacturers for most of the parts. There's some parts we're going to have to go back into the filter by function, but the vast majority of them fit into either OPT Aerospace Division or OPT Propulsion Science Division. Kind of interesting to have it split up into 2, but I can kind of understand it. But let's start off with the OPT Aerospace and take a look at the cockpits, and first have a look at, quite possibly, the most unique of them all, and by far the largest, the K Space Shuttle Cockpit, which minimum of 1 crew, maximum of 10. Holy crap, look at the size of this thing. It is just, oh, ginormous, and I forgot to throw on my usual little Mark 1 command pod for size comparison, and yeah, that's the Mark 1 right there. Compared to this, the K-type, or K-Space Shuttle Cockpit, the thing is just massive. Once again, it does hold a total of 10 Kerbals for its maximum load. It does have its own built-in docking node, which I'll show off in a minute. It has a variety of different fuel configurations you can put it into, because it does have its own fuel tanks. It is a lift surface, it has reaction wheel, SAS, the typical crew report, and 2,500 electrical charge. All pretty wonderful. But yes, like I said, we do have multiple tank setups that we can go for this. So basically just nothing, liquid fuel or liquid fuel and oxidizer. And of course, the deployable docking port, which I love. It's a beautiful animation. Let's actually get a little zoom in and boop. I love it. I love it. You know me, I'm a sucker for animations. And this thing overall is just gorgeous, beautiful, absolutely beautiful design, very awesome modeling, very cool texturing, and I do love that even though it is certainly very unique and different, it still has that sort of stock-alike feel that I always love seeing in these things. So, let's retract the docking port and continue on to the next cockpit, which is the second largest, the J Spaceplane Cockpit, which, let's take a look at all the stats on this one first. Minimum 1 crew, maximum of 7. Again, it is a lift surface. It has a reaction wheel, SAS, electric charge, and monopropellant, but no additional fuel tanks, which is quite interesting compared to the K-type. But let's grab this baby out and just sort of flip it around and attach it to the, oh god, come on, attach, you fool. Oh, there we go. Trying to attach this gigantic thing to that little one, but still much more gigantic than the Mark 1 command pod. Look at that thing. It is just massive. Now, these do have IVAs, I should mention right off the bat here, but not all of the IVAs are complete yet. Again, there are 7 cockpits in here, and right now I believe there's 2 or 3 of them are actually finished, 2, or at least mostly, 2 have, I don't even think have been started, and then the others are kind of placeholders at the moment, but nonetheless, still cool that there is at least a placeholder. This one, a bit more interesting in my opinion, because if you'll notice on the windshields here, they kind of have a nice glare to them. You can see them sort of reflecting the light, whereas on this one, they're just sort of the plain blue slabs there, which is intriguing. A bit of a design difference, but I actually kind of like this one a bit more. I don't know, that little reflectivity is quite cool indeed. Of course, lights on, always useful. Yeah, that's the J-type. Let's move on to the next one. Let's actually check out the Mark 1 command pod. We really don't need that size comparison anymore, and take a look at the JQS-01 cockpit, which is the third largest in size and has the capacity rather for a max of 5 Kerbals. Once again, a lift rating, reaction wheel. It does have a resource air intake, which is always useful. It does have SAS, electric charge, and monopropellant, always good. So these are the air intakes along the side. Very cool looking design. Very, very interesting ship overall. And again, back to the blue sort of slabs of glass instead of the reflective black that we had on the J, which is, again, just an interesting design choice, but still, nonetheless, beautiful looking design to this thing. It is just gorgeous, and again, holds 5 Kerbals. Now, the next one in line is, oh boy, let's see, we got those 3. Then these up here, the Isp Shuttle Cockpit. Let's flip that baby around. Sort of a short and stubby, but a very cool one nonetheless. Again, a 5 crew capacity, lift surface, reaction wheel, SAS, electric charge, and monopropellant. And nice and far more circular, could work with other sort of parts from other mods. Very nice indeed. Quite a gorgeous little design. I do like the extra little additional windows in the back there and those 2 up top. A very cool design indeed. Let's check that off and take a look at the I-LSAA cockpit. Flip that baby around, and this one is again, max of 5 crew capacity. It does have a texture switch? Hold on a moment. Huh. Texture original. I didn't notice this earlier, but yeah, that just seems... Oh, that does. Yeah, look at that. I'll be darned. I didn't notice that when I was looking at this mod earlier today. Well, that's cool. I don't think I noticed that on any others. So this one can switch between the black and the blue, which is intriguing. Very intriguing indeed. And I'm just going to go back to this one real quick just to double check that that one didn't have it, because I'm pretty sure it didn't. Yeah, okay. So that's just the first one that I've noticed it with. I was a little odd there that it had the texture switch. I was about to say it was another fuel switching thing, but then noticed, oh wait, no, it says texture. Okay, but yeah, lift surface, reaction wheel, SAS, electric charge, monopropellant, all the same old, but you can change up the texturing a little bit. Very cool thing to notice in the middle of a video. Oh, that's professional. All right, and now the I Mark II 3B cockpit. Again, nice design to it, nice rounded shape. This one does not have the switching of the textures. This one, though, only a maximum of 3 Kerbals in the crew. Reaction wheel, lift surface, SAS, electric charge, monopropellant, all that glorious, glorious stuff in there. Overall, very, very nice looking cockpit. Very beautiful indeed. Now... Ah, yes, this one down at the bottom. I always forget about this, because I look at these 3, then these 3, and then forget the 7th one down here is the OPT Mark II cockpit. And flip it around. Much more fighter-like design. Holds a maximum of 2 Kerbals, lift surface, reaction wheel, electric charge, and monopropellant on this one. Very, very cool interior design. Or, oh no, actually, this one I don't believe is one of the finished ones yet. It's hard to keep track of them all. We'll take a look at all of them, though, in a little bit once we get through the rest of the parts. So, let's start looking at the rest of the things. Now, we have a crap load of different structural bits, which we're just going to go through one by one here. A lot of them do have fuel switching capabilities, and almost all of them also have lift surface ratings to them. So, you can pretty much use all of them to help you get into the air. Always a good thing. Always a good thing indeed. So, this is an I to J connector. So it is an adapter between the different sizes and shapes of the crafts here, and can switch between the different tank setups that you can use. Always handy. Now the next one in line is an I to J connector, or another one just in a different shape, and this one has some lovely additional attachment points here. We could hit engines or air intakes, which we didn't see on this one, which had the more smooth sides, as you can see right there, which is an lovely little additional attachment, especially for air intakes, in my opinion. But otherwise, a same sort of transfer between the 2 different shapes and sizes. We then have the J Aerodynamic Tail, which is a tail, aerodynamic, and yeah, that one does not have any fuel capacity. The next is the J Bicoupler, which we click there, does have the different tank setups and is good for slapping on 2 engines in here. Very good indeed. The next is the J drone core. Oh, I forgot about this. This actually should technically go with the cockpits, I guess, but it is a drone core. I completely skipped this one, didn't I? Oh boy. But yes, of course, unmanned lift surface, reaction wheel, SAS, and electric charge. No monopropellant. Very cool design, though. I do like that sort of faux cockpit right there, since it is a drone core. I do like that indeed. It's a cool little look to it. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Wish I wouldn't have forgotten it with the other cockpits, but hey, drone core, there we go. Now the next is the J experimental cargo bay, and it of course can open up, and opens up from both sides, which would be quite convenient for dropping a satellite. Would be quite nice indeed. Beautiful texturing on it. I love the detailing on the interior of all these slats going through. Very, very cool indeed. Let's bump that off. The next is the J Mobile Lab. Very cool. Unfortunately, no interior for it. We can retract the shutters, though, which is, again, me being a sucker for animations. I do like that. And, of course, we can turn on the lights. But no interior view, but it does work as a mobile lab, just like the typical ones. So let's bump that off. And then go to the J to Mark II adapter, so you can go between these different crafts and then the sort of standard stock crafts. Very handy, and we do have attachment points again there for either engines or air intakes, whatever you so desire. The next is the J engine mount, which is a beautiful little sort of tail end piece, where you can hold like 4 very, very gorgeous engines at the back of a J body type. Very cool, and no fuel on the interior of this one, sadly. I would have thought that this one would have fuel being an engine mount, but oh well, what are you going to do? You can at least hold 4 engines on there, so that is always a good thing. The next is the J fuel tank in the 4-meter variety, which can be switched to the different fuel setups, whichever you desire. We then have the J inline docking port, which is quite cool. You briefly saw the animation there, so we can extend that. And we can also extend the Clampotron there, so it's kind of a 2-part staging for the docking port. Very, very cool indeed. And as you can see, it does hold monopropellant. Very nice, very cool. I'm a sucker for animations, so I love it. The next is the J to K size adapter, so you can go down from the smaller size up to the large big boy size here, and this one does have the attachment points right in here, once again for engines or air intakes, whatever you so desire. The next one we have is the J to K adapter in a much smaller variety, so only 3 meters of difference between the two. Again, attachment points on the sides, very useful indeed. Very cool. Alright, so then we skip these different cockpits and head to the K size bicoupler, and that thing's just freaking massive. Those are some big engines there we're going to put on this thing, and I'll get to those in a moment, because we do have them, and they're gorgeous. The next is the K-sized cargo bay, which is quite cool. We can open up that, and I love how those little bits of the cargo bay doors sort of spin to basically like unlock this thing. It's very cool. I love that design to it. And it does have space for fuel, so you can just set up those different fuel tank designs, which is very useful. And I'm just going to keep this here for the next one, because the next is a cargo bay tail. So very cool, very cool. We can have very large cargo bays with the K-type body. And this one is, of course, retractable. Very useful. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. No fuel capacity on this one, but like everything else, has a lift rating. Let's lose those. We then have the K 6-meter fuel tank, which is huge, and it's a fuel tank, but also is completely hollow on the inside, which does fit with the K-type body, because, of course, with the cockpit here, we do have that hollow interior there. So very nice and useful. We then have the Mark II ram air intake. Very, very nice. I love this thing. It is just beautiful and sexy. That is just a gorgeous, gorgeous looking ram air intake. Beautiful. Beautiful. And like everything else, it is a lift surface. And, of course, an air intake. Now, the next things we have is the engines, which... Oh, boy. Actually, let's go back and grab one of those couplers. Oh, boy. There we go. Click that and use the giant ones, because we'll need it, trust me. Now, the first one we have here is the OPT Airy 73, a beautiful engine with a max thrust of 725, engine ISP of 850 atmosphere, 340 vacuum, so definitely more of an atmospheric engine. And it burns fuel at a rate of roughly 8 per second liquid fuel, 9.5 on the oxidizer, does have gimbaling. It is a very, very nice engine, and just sort of goes on the back of whatever ship you have, and it's just a gorgeous design to this thing. I really do like the look of it. It is just beautiful. Kind of reminds me of an artichoke. Huh, maybe that's why I like it. I do love artichokes. The next one, which we're going to look at, is this one. I'm going to save these last two. Is the OPT Linear Aerospike Rocket, if we pop that on there. A nice sort of linear design to it, which is also kind of unfortunate. It looks beautiful. I love this thing. But if you have bicouplers at the end, it's kind of inconvenient for most engine attachment points because they tend to be more round in shape, but still a very, very gorgeous looking engine. And of course, at full power, it does produce a good amount of electrical charge, has a max thrust of 812 atmosphere, 875 vacuum, engine ISP of 390 atmosphere, 420 vacuum, and consumes quite a bit of liquid fuel at 19 per second and 23 per second on the oxidizer. Very, very nice engine though, absolutely gorgeous. The next one is an advanced turbo ramjet, which is a very nice engine, because it can be attached like that, but it also does work as a radial engine, I've found. It's a little bit finicky, but as you can see, it does have these sort of blades to it going out the back, so it's quite interesting indeed. But of course, is primarily designed like any engine to sort of go in the back like there. Again, another engine design that isn't exactly round, but very cool in its look. And it actually is its own lift surface. It has its own air intake, which is why I said that it could kind of be attached radially. It does take some finessing, rather, to actually get it radially, but it does work. I've done it a few times so far. And as for the engine thrust, it produces 1,400 thrust at Mach 3, stationary thrust of 650. It has an ISP of 7,000 atmosphere and 7,000 vacuum, consumes 1.89 liquid fuel per second, and 4.26 in air intake. It just sips along those things, but it is pretty gorgeous. I do like those engines quite a bit, but by far, my favorite engine is this, the OPT Dark Drive. It's gigantic and beautiful, and oh my god, I love this thing. It is by far my favorite part in this entire mod, because not only is it just beautiful modeling, but it's a very, very unique engine. It produces a max thrust of 1,500, and it has an ISP of 3,000 in atmosphere or vacuum, consumes a piddly little amount of 4.58 liquid fuel per second, and 5.6 on the oxidizer. And it uses liquid fuel and oxidizer to turn it into dark goo. I love the description of this. After decades of research and experiments on the mystery goo, scientists are now able to refine it into dark goos and put it to good use. I love that. I love the concept of that. It fits in with this whole sort of Kerbal mythos. It is very cool, and again, just a gorgeous engine, and the effect for the engine is amazing. I'll show that off in a minute. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that is the engines. Now we do need to go back to filter by function and go to aerodynamics, because there are a couple of parts that, as you can see here, are for OPT but have no manufacturer, and these are just different wing designs. With stabilizer A, beautiful little stabilizer. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because, well, they're wings. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory there. We then have the OPT Wing Type A gorgeous wing with a built-in aileron for it. Very, very cool. We then have the OPT Winglet Type A. There we go. Gorgeous. OPT Winglet Type B. There we are. Beautiful. And lastly, the OPT Winglet Type C. All very, very nice not engines, rather, they are wings or winglets. and have good lift ratings to them. They all have their own control surfaces, so it's very useful, very handy indeed. But let's look at two different crafts here that I've made. The first is the all OPT cockpits. Now, I built this thing so I can show off all of the interiors at once, so let's just go out. And thankfully, I do still have my just beautiful enhanced internal view mod installed. So if we go to Jebediah, and this is the K model cockpit right now. It's just sort of a placeholder. It's blank and a little disappointing considering this thing's supposed to hold 10 Kerbals, but you only get to see 4 in here, which is a little bit sad. But okay, let's turn on the enhanced IVA so I can move around. God, I love this mod. And yes, so there we go. So this is the K version cockpit. Very, very small considering the size of this thing overall. I mean, again, this is the large cockpit that's supposed to hold 10 Kerbals. And, well, we only get to see 4 in a very blank environment, which is a little sad, but again, this is a work-in-progress mod, so not everything is finished up. Now, the next one over here is, yet again, another sort of just gray placeholder cockpit. I'm forgetting the name of this one, but it's the one with the air intakes that holds 5 Kerbals. Now, these in the back are 2 of the ones that have no internal view right now. As you can see, they are just all black boxes at the moment, which is a little sad, but again, work in progress. But the last 3 that we'll have a look at here all do have internal cockpits, which are quite nice. I do love the look of the panels here. Very cool indeed. Nice and bright on the interior. It's quite a cool little cockpit. I do like this one. And yes, that's another one of the large ones. Again, holds 5 Kerbals inside, but again, you can only see 2 in the cockpit. Interesting. Hopefully another IVA will be in the back in the future. Now this one, I think, is my favorite of them. This was the sort of short, stumpy, round one. There we go. We just go in here, and it has 4 little, basically, ride-along seats in the back here. We have these lovely little structural supports on the sides, and then the pilot seat right here with the lovely instrumentation. Very, very nice indeed. A beautiful view from the inside here. A lot of good windows. Very nice. My favorite of the cockpits, honestly. Then again, like I said, the 2 over here, which are blank. And lastly, we had this one that's more of the fighter sort of cockpit design. Oh no, this one doesn't have an interior. I forgot this was another placeholder. So sort of drab and gray. I combined those 2 words for some reason. And yes, you have 2 pilot seats here. Hopefully we will see some good interiors on those in the future, but for now, a little bland for the most part, but overall, not too bad. Let's fly to the spaceplane hangar and grab a plane that actually flies that I made earlier. Oh boy, it's what did I call it? Oh yeah, I just called it OPT plane. And I made this in just a couple of minutes just to show off what a sort of a thing you could make with this glorious mod. So we start with the J-type cockpit here. We put in one of the mobile labs, and then we have some fuel tanks along the back, and then those beautiful, just beautiful dark drive engines. Oh, I love these things. Hopefully you will as well. But yeah, the OPT space planes here are very awesome. I cannot wait to see what they will look like when they are completely finished. There are still a lot of parts that need a little bit of work in them, especially on the internal views. Like I said, there's no internal view for this lab yet. Hopefully that will happen in the future, which would be quite nice. But for now, they are absolutely beautiful planes. Beautiful, 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 beautiful things. And the interior's not too bad. This one... yes, this one is one of the ones with the interior cockpit. Very nice. You sit quite close to the instrumentation, but not too bad at all. And, yeah, just gorgeous looking planes you can make with this. And, of course, the dark drive. Let's fire it up. Oh, I love that. You get this weird little flash of light, and then you just have these ominous dark orbs that just, oh, they consume all light. I love these things so much, and powered by goo, which is just beautiful. And they get you up to a pretty good pace pretty quickly here. I mean, we're already up to 140, 150 meters per second. And, well, we'll have to sort of ramp off the runway here, but we should fly. There we go. Excellent. Let's hit our gears up. And yes, we are now flying using dark drives. Oh, this is beautiful. They are just gorgeous planes that you can make with OPT. Very unique. I love the looks of them, especially these larger cockpits. I do like the sort of wide, sort of squished down look to them. They are just gorgeous. They got some pretty nice wings as well. I love these air intakes, even though the dark drive doesn't actually need them. And on the dark drive, oh, they're just so beautiful. I cannot express how much I love these engines. They are just gorgeous. But yeah, that's the OPT spaceplane mod. Not really much more I can say about it. We've been going on for quite a while because there were, of course, a lot of parts. Well over 30 different parts in this mod so far. Hopefully many more to come in the future, and hopefully beautiful IVAs in the near future, hopefully, fingers crossed. But until then, you can make some very, very unique spacecraft with these things. And so, yes, if you'd like to give it a try for yourself, you can find the download link in the description as always. And if you do make some interesting craft, I would love to see them. So tweet me a pic. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this episode today, and of course that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one. I'm going to fly around for a bit because, well, these things are gorgeous. Oh, I love these engines. Maybe too much. Later, folks.